Hello, everyone. This is Nora Armani, and we are on our seventh, I think, broadcast of the Meet the Filmmakers Live, which is broadcast live on our YouTube channel, but also simulcast on our Facebook, the festival's Facebook, and my own personal Facebook, because I have a considerable number of friends and followers, so we don't want to leave them out. I want to tell you a little bit quickly about the festival. We open in under 2 weeks on the 11th of March at the National Arts Club. That's our opening night. On opening night, we screen 3 short films that just as a avant-goût or taste to give people appetizer for what's to come. Then on the 12th and 13th, we go uptown for our Rejoice, Resist BIPOC Films program, which is considered one of our programs on the sidebar. And we've been doing it for the past 4 years now, I think maybe even 5. And that is focusing on Black, Indigenous, people of color films and filmmakers. This year we have 2 programs of films and an open mic. The 2 programs of films take place on the 13th at the Forum, at Columbia University's The Forum, not the Forum Cinema downtown. Please don't get mixed up. And also at MRHS, which is the Morningside Health and Retirement Services. And they are partners with us. And we screen those films with a BIPOC panel that takes place right after the first batch of screenings at the Forum. On the 14th, 15th, and 16th, we come back downtown to Cinema Village, and we have a packed program of documentaries, narrative features, and 2 groupings of short films. The first one is called Art and Empowering Women, and the second one is 3 short Armenian films. One of them is a filmmaker who's with us today, and the other 2 couldn't make it today, but we have a full program of filmmakers who I will be happy to introduce you in a second. On the 16th, in the evening, we have the closing awards night at the Tenry Center, which is about a block and a half or 2 blocks away from Cinema Village, all taking place in the same neighborhood. Then on the 17th, most of the films, with the exception of a few titles, go online. And if you didn't catch any, or you want to see a film again because you loved it so much, or if you are not in New York, that is your chance to catch the films that are streaming online. So without further ado, also, as you can see under the screen, the festival website is scrolling. All this information that I just gave you in a nutshell can be found on the festival website, whether it's events, whether it's the screening schedule, or other programs that we are having and hosting. So without further ado, I'll bring on our wonderful filmmakers here. And each one, as you can see next to their names, they have the title of the film that they are presenting. We'll do a quick round where they will introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about the film, and then we'll go back and discuss the films in greater detail. So maybe we should go ladies first, and also Aslihan, you're right next to me on my screen. I don't know what it looks like on everybody else's screen. So go ahead, and then we'll come back to you later.
Sure, thank you. And also, both my name and my film's name starts with an A, so I guess that's fine. Hi, everybody. My name is Aslihan, and I'm a filmmaker who was born and raised in Istanbul, but I've been based in Brooklyn, New York for a very long time. My film is called Afloat, and it was shot in southern Turkey, entirely on a small 45 feet sailing boat. And it's primarily a family drama, but it's set against the sociopolitical context of today's Turkey, and involves some political themes such as freedom of expression and the persecution of journalists, as well as it's a very woman-focused film, so it deals with women who are confronting their own sexuality and relationships.
Okay. So as on my screen, I have Mano next, and it's interesting because Mano's film is an Armenian film. So let's
Yeah.
see what we have in there.
Hi, Nora. Hi, everyone. My name is Mano Baghjajian. I'm an Armenian-American documentary filmmaker, and my film is a short doc, and it's a story about two Armenian women who don't know each other, have no relation to each other, lived 100 years apart from each other, but both have very similar stories of persecution that they've had to survive throughout. So, yeah.
Okay, that's great. And then we have Matt Hindra. You're muted.
Yes, I know. I'm so sorry I was muted.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Nora. My name is Matt Hindra. I am the editor and cinematographer on a short documentary about the conceptual feminist artist Mary Kelly. From Stone to Cloud is the name of the film, and it's produced and directed by Sophie Shahinian, and her art project, which is called the Artist Profile Archive. We've shot over 30 films on artists across the world. So we're very excited to be part of the festival.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, we have Richard, who has a film called After, but he'll tell us more about it.
Hi. The film is called After, Poetry Destroys Silence. It's a performance film. It's 82 minutes long. It features some of the great poets on the planet, and also some well-known actors like Melissa Leo and Geza Rohrig, Bo Core, in performing in each poem that deals with the horrors of the modern world and the powers of art making in the modern world. Each poem is its own sort of cinematic island.
Yeah. Very interesting. There are common lines in here with the group that I have put together on today's talk show. It's art, basically, and how through art we can make a difference. That's the whole mission and vision and raison d'etre of the film festival, because we strongly believe that through the powerful image of a powerful medium of cinema, you can definitely educate, enlighten, and make a change in people's mentalities, in people's minds. Also, a lot of times conflict, prejudice, and all sorts of terrible things that are going on in the world today mostly happen because we don't know about the other. And we always talk about the other as though that was an entity that is completely different from ourselves. Whereas in reality, this type of cinema, these types of films emphasize the similarities between people as opposed to focusing on our differences. And Mary Kelly is an interesting film because it's about an artist and how through art you can express yourself. The same thing with Endless Exile and Aslihan, or Aslihan? Aslihan, okay. Sorry about my pronunciation is not that good. So her film is talking about, it's a family drama, but at the same time, at the core of it is the freedom of speech, because the journalist father who has written a book criticizing the regime and so on, suddenly, I'm not going to give it away because you have to come and see it, but that's basically the core of the problem. In the backdrop of the family drama that's going on, which I think is kind of allegorical of the political situation, because there are the parents, what's happening, and they're, the whole relationship. I saw many, many parallels between what is happening and what is being portrayed on that boat in the film. Richard's film is amazing because it's talking about poetry and how through poetry and the spoken word and the written word, we revive the memory of people who deserve to be remembered. And the world today is come to a point where they are forgetting, not only forgetting what is past, they are closing their eyes and ears to what's going on right now. So that is a very, very important film, because one of the moments that stuck me most in Richard's film is a piece of poetry that's written on a piece of paper that is anonymous, and it's found in a concentration camp. And I'm like, oh my God, we don't know who wrote it, but we know what it was about. And that survives the person and the event and the memory. And that was very, very powerful for me. So my question to all of you, and you can jump in if you feel like it, you don't have to wait like a school in turns. And it's about, how did you get the idea of this film that you are bringing to us? And what did it take for you to bring it from idea to screen so that we can enjoy it? Who wants to?
Well, I can start. So the Artist Profile Archive is an online database that concentrates on artists that maybe we don't know about. And Mary Kelly was one of those artists. We did a little research, and we were in California shooting a few projects. And Mary was on our radar. And we went to her studio one day and spent the day with her. And that's really how this project came about. It's pretty amazing. Mary was, a conceptual feminist artist in the 60s, 70s, up until today. And her work has really evolved. And it's really about subjects we don't really talk about in art, being a mother, dealing with being a mother in a war-torn country, dealing with losing a child. And her medium is really interesting. She works with a lot of different mediums, but the one she was working on the day we went to her studio was she creates these collages out of lint. So she takes the lint from a dryer and it actually creates the art out of this. And it's really a fascinating process, and we hope people enjoy the film. And I don't know if there's anything else I can add right now, but that's it.
That is quite interesting. It's very, very interesting that you went to an archive for lesser known artists. And I have to jump in here and put a parallel between what you have done and what the festival does, because we don't go to the big festivals that are out there try to recruit films that are already getting a lot of spotlight, getting a lot of reviews, getting a lot of audience. We go by what is submitted to us on our submission platform, because we understand that those filmmakers, more than anyone else, need the platform to show their films. Because if we don't advocate for them, then a lot of times many of these films that are created on shoestring budgets will probably go completely unnoticed. And let's face it, we're talking here about a film on poetry, a film on an artist, a film on exile, a film on political dissent. I mean, if you just put them that way, who wants to pay $20 and come to see it in the cinema? But the way to do it is to tell people that there are wonderful stories behind these films, that it is an enlightening experience and a discovery. And that is what we want to share with everybody, with the audience that comes our way. Because a lot of times the commercial world, let's face it, all the movies that what I call is violent forms of filmmaking, where you have a lot of explosions, a lot of gunfights and chases and things like that, and special effects just to wow people. And they don't necessarily improve on our lives and tell human interest stories. So basically, it's so admirable that all of you chose themes that otherwise might go completely unnoticed and under the radar. But and we love our filmmakers, because without our filmmakers there is no film festival. So that is, and it's an immense learning experience for me, for us, for everybody who is involved in the selection of the films. Who wants to tell us next about how the idea came and what happened? And
I mean, I don't mind jumping in.
yep.
So for Afloat, there are actually two, I would say, points of departure. One is very personal. My father is a sailor. He used to be in the Navy, and we used to go on sailing trips when I was in my teens and 20s. And that pressure cooker environment of the sailing boat, where everybody has to confront each other and there's no escape, would always result in sort of interesting situations. So that was one idea. And of course, there is precedent for it with films like Knife in the Water or La Ventura, one of my favorite films. Secondly, so that was the genesis, the idea of a family on a boat, a broken family in the case of Afloat, with parents that are divorced and adult children. The political element came because there is a big crackdown on journalists in Turkey, and I really care about freedom of expression. So that's where the idea of making the father a journalist came from. And I'm really interested in exploring sort of the effect of big socio-political trends on individual lives. So that's kind of the genesis of the film, a broken family on a boat with a father who's maybe going to go to prison soon, who's trying to reconnect with the family. And but I just want to add one more thing, because when you were talking about the othering and the power of cinema to potentially bring people and cultures together, it was also extremely important. This was a very hard film to finance. It really fell between all the cracks. Obviously, I couldn't get support in Turkey due to the anti-government stance, etc. So it was very micro budget, but I really wanted to make it because so often the images we see from the Middle East are of victimhood and poverty and women who don't have any agency. So I really wanted to push back against that stereotype with these intellectual, well-educated characters who are on a boat. And I did get some pushback even after the film was made. I would be asked, even, in places like Spain, why are these Turkish people on a boat? Why aren't they poor? Why aren't they in a village? So that was really important to me.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting point that you are making there, because the whole world is going in that direction nowadays. It's like, where is freedom of speech? Where are the journalists? Where is the mainstream media talking about what's going on in the world as we speak? Nobody seems to be talking about it. The only bits and pieces of information that we are getting about what's happening here, what's happening there, is through social media. And of course, social media, you don't know what is true, what is not true. And it's really, really a sad times that we are living in. So cinema has to step up and say, wait a minute, I have a story to tell. If the journalists won't tell it, I will tell it. And through art, we are going to drive people's attention to what is happening in the world. Richard, maybe you want to tell us about the genesis of your film and how did it come about?
I had just finished a feature film about transhumanism, funded by a billionaire, and it turned into a nightmare. I won't get into it. It was finished, but it's a long story. And so I just started making a few sketches. I had always been in love with the marriage of cinema and language. you know, a lot of European directors, very few American directors, maybe Terrence Malick, definitely Terrence Malick, but you certainly see it in European cinema where there is voiceover text and imagery. And that was really interesting. And I've often in the back of my mind thought of making a poetry-driven film. Long story. So the first few films I did were just, first few episodes were just handmade little sketches of films. And eventually it just we kept adding on that. And so the film was made on almost nothing until the, you know, renowned critic Molly Haskell of the New Yorker saw the film and loved it and went to a foundation that she knew of, and they were closing and they gave us the rest of the money. And still it was, you know, not some enormous amount of money, but certainly for this film, we were able to get a substantial amount of money to finish the film. But it came from that original idea of the power of cinema and language, which you don't often see in what you call and which I call the violent cinema of America, or the overly implausible story-driven, not story-driven, implausible story-driven cinema from Hollywood. By the way, a quick note, I saw a film last night about a filmmaker, Paul Schrader's new film, Oh Canada, with Richard Gere. And I never do this, but a huge shout out. You must see it. It's pretty brilliant, and it's on Canopy if you have that. Okay, back on this. A quick comment about your comment, Nora, about the film found in a clay pot in the Warsaw Ghetto. Since I cut the film, I live with that poem. Unlike someone who directed and see it a few screenings, I cut that film and heard that film literally hundreds of times by the African-American poet Cornelius Eady, who's a genius and brilliant, did a brilliant job with it. So I lived in every, in quotes, nook and cranny of that poem. And I come to realize with that poem, after hearing it hundreds of times, that you couldn't possibly come up with the imagery and the words of that poem without staring into the void of one's non-existence. Obviously, this person was looking at his or her imminent annihilation. So that to me is really attractive, that there was all of these poems written inside of this extreme crucible of being challenged with the ultimate aspect of one's existence, which is non-existence and the horrors of totalitarian life. The film was shot by Lisa Rinsler, who is one of maybe the first female director of photography. I've worked with her for 30 years in a male business, obviously, to run a set that was traditionally a male. She's a brilliant runner of her crews and gentle. No one gets shamed on the set. And so she's she's 150% of an artist. And the film looks great. And that's what I was interested. I wanted to make, I never thought we never even looked for money. I never thought there would be money. And in the past 5 years, I started to cut my own films just because the only way to do it.
Necessity.
And, I've always been blessed with brilliant editors. And I found out, and I'm not someone who pats his stuff on the back very much, but I turned out, wow, I'm a good editor, and I enjoy it.
Yeah, that's good. That's wonderful. Thank God for that, because otherwise, if you couldn't edit and there is no budget, the film doesn't get made. So,
and if you think about what the traditional line items in a edit were a nightmare. So now, for $10,000 in your edit, in your house, you can have a Da Vinci edit with a mini. I mean, it can do anything.
Yes, yes. I
Yeah.
remember the days when it was 35 millimeters and
Oh my God.
on the moviola and
The
so on and
Steam
so forth.
Deck
So I
thing.
am
Yeah.
dating myself, but I
My,
don't care. I was 5 years old actually. Yeah.
ah, yeah.
And
Why Da Vinci? Did you also color it yourself?
I do. Well, I've been, I must admit, a very simple program. I cut like a feature film. I cut this film. I cut other, and lots of stuff for galleries, museums, like so-called video art. But I did that all on Final Cut 7. So in the last 3 months, I've been diving in. Can an old dog learn new tricks? And this is a very challenging new trick.
yeah,
There's a lot of wonder. Oh my God, Da Vinci, Da Vinci, Da Vinci. Yeah, yes, but it's extremely complicated.
yeah.
The color correction is light years, but if you can get it, it's good. So I've been diving in. I can only stand 3 hours a day before I want to shoot myself, but I'm getting there.
Yeah, this is amazing because, again, I will.
It's under the roof with Da Vinci. I mean,
Yeah,
you start the beginning, you go through every stage, all the way to color correction, sound mix, it's genius.
yeah.
It's complicated.
It's about learning. That's the whole thing. It makes me take. It's make a lot of artists take, of course. And if we don't have that capacity of completely learning new things, they tell you also to keep your brains young and vibrant, learn a new thing every day, a new language. And I guess editing is considered a new language.
I hope so. That
It's
and lion's mane.
it's a visual language that
Yeah.
you are communicating with.
Yeah. I hope so.
Okay, we come to Mano. Tell us about about
Yes.
Endless Exile, which we are all familiar with, but tell us your
Yes, absolutely. Thank you again, Nora. So my short originally started off as my thesis film. I'm a recent graduate of New York University's news and documentary program. So, and originally I'm from Los Angeles too. I don't know, I forget if I mentioned that, but I'm based in New York now. And originally I was resistant to making a film about Armenia or Armenian issues because if you don't know, Los Angeles is like the second Armenia. Pretty much everywhere you look, there's Armenians walking around. So I wanted to do something different initially, and then in November 2022, I saw this film Invisible Republic, which is a documentary about the 2020 Artsakh War by Baghjajian, and was very inspired by what he told and how he showcased what our people were going through. And I'm like, okay, I have this interesting opportunity, interesting skill set to be able to follow in his footsteps and make and tell the story of our people through this medium of filmmaking. And then only a couple weeks later, and for those of you who don't know, the Nagorno-Karabakh was this autonomous region in southwestern Azerbaijan, which was inhabited by pretty much all Armenians and was living autonomously, independently, pretty much for the last 30 years until the war in 2020, which kind of messed everything up in terms of political alignment and who is in power and whatnot. And so so after that war, it was pretty much standstill until 2022 December, when the Azerbaijan government started blockading the only road between Armenia and Artsakh and Nagorno-Karabakh. So no food was coming in, no supplies, no medicine, and then the people, like a big famine risk was starting to happen in the area. And so once I saw that happening, I knew that I had to shoot my film in the summer. I was like, okay, I have to go to Armenia and tell this story, because no one in my class had known anything that was happening about it. No one in my school, my professor had no idea. So I'm like, yeah, I'm an Armenian guy who lives in this bubble of Armenians yelling about stuff that's happening to us, but no one else in the world really is hearing it. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna put my foot down and go and make a film, because I think film is by far the best medium in terms of getting people to watch and learn something. So yeah.
It's very interesting because it brings us back to what we were saying earlier about the silence of the media. When the Karabakh situation happened and 120,000 Armenians suddenly all picked up and left, it's not, they didn't decide, let's go picnic. It's going to be wonderful on the other side of the fence. And that is the Azerbaijani narrative. They all picked up and left. I wonder why. I wonder why they picked up and left, So nobody asks these questions. And why are there so many people in exile today? Not just Armenians, all over the world, everything that's going on, including what's happening today in Gaza, what's happening today in Sudan, what's happening today in everywhere. I'm not going to list the names. You can Google it, and everywhere there is some form of ethnic cleansing, some form of genocide that is going on. And of course, the perpetrators don't want to accept it, don't want to, of course they won't. And there is all these other people who keep silent. Guess what? When you are silent about something, you are an accomplice. So it's very important to tell these stories and to tell them from a point of view of not pointing fingers, of not saying you're in charge, you have to be punished, you have to pay the price, you have to do this. Of course, we have to deal with something called impunity, because when things go unpunished, when the world lets things happen, they are bound to be repeated. Impunity is the worst moth that eats away into humanity. So if you don't get up and speak against something, it's bound to repeat itself. And then, of course, there is also the hypocritical stand of all these politically driven narratives that, yes, oh, we have to be against what's happening in this country and that country and so on. Oh, but the others, they don't matter. So it's like some people happen to be more important than other people. So there is a hierarchy, a clear hierarchy. Oh, we talk about what's happening in Ukraine, but we don't talk about what's happening in Gaza. We don't talk about what's happening in Armenia. Who are the Armenians? Who cares about them? It's like, and oh, do they have oil? No. Oh, forget it. Do they have gold? No, 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 no. What do they have? They have their culture. Forget it. Why do we have to advocate for culture? This is the way the world is going nowadays. And if we are silent about it, we are accomplices. There are no two ways about this. Therefore, we as artists, as filmmakers, as people who are not funded by these governments, thank God, have to stand up and talk about it. Because there are people out there in the street who have no idea what is going on. And the fact that things are going on which are affecting their daily existence, their everyday lives, they don't even know why things are happening to them that are affecting their lives. But by showing them the backside of the coin, then maybe they will understand a little bit better. What I liked about your film, Endless Exile, is that it doesn't only focus on Karabakh, on what happened recently, but it also talks about Los Angeles Armenians. Why are they in Glendale? Why do they love them?
Well, a lot of them, obviously, after the Armenian genocide. So my film is a parallel between what's happening now and what happened 100 years ago, and kind of the silence that has been going on for both. So for the part we talked about what's happening now, in terms of what happened before, it delves into my great-grandmother's Armenian genocide survival story told through her daughter, my grandmother, Sona, who now lives in Los Angeles, and goes through the torturous circumstances that she had to live through to survive. Most of her family was killed by the Ottoman Empire, and she ended up settling in Turkey with the survivors of her family. And then, like many Armenians families in the genocide survival stories, they had to they were scattered all throughout the Middle East, in Syria, in Lebanon, Egypt. And so my family personally ended up in Lebanon after the fact. And then a lot of them emigrated to Los Angeles because they had similar weather, I guess, to Beirut maybe.
Yeah. It's quite an interesting promotion, because a few years ago, when I was still living in London, I was participating in an international refugee day, or there's something like that, on end of June. And I wrote a poem, and it was called I Was Born in Exile. It was called, and it's like, and I don't know the poem by heart, so don't expect me to recite it. But it's basically talking about the fact that I have it in my genes. I'm genetically an exiled person because I was born in Egypt personally. My grandmother, my paternal grandmother, came from Kayseri, from Turkey, came to Egypt. She didn't suffer the genocide. My maternal grandmother is a survivor. And I've heard these stories from her firsthand. So don't tell me it hasn't happened. So anyway, that's very interesting because I felt these people were exiled, and here I am, born in Egypt, which is not my country. I am Armenian. I'm not Egyptian, but I am in exile. And then I've come to the United States, and I've lived in France, and I've lived everywhere. So everywhere I'm in exile. So it is a disease of the 20th and 21st century. And of course, with all the wars that happened in Syria and all these Syrian refugees who went to Turkey, all these, the outpour of all these refugees. And let's see what's going to happen with the Palestinian situation. It's like exile is all over the place. It's more of an epidemic than COVID.
Yeah.
So
and it's a timeless epidemic. It's been going on throughout the course of history, and this keeps repeating itself.
It is. It's absolutely true. And the fact that it repeats itself is because nothing was done when the Holocaust happened. Nothing was done before the Holocaust happened. Nothing was done to put people in their place. And even now, it keeps going on and on and on. So it's our responsibility as artists to talk about it and to talk to each other and not point fingers and say, like, some Armenians would say, oh, you have a Turk on your program? Thank you, Aslihan, for being here. And I would say, yes, because what does she have to do with the government of the Ottoman Empire who ordered the annihilation of the Armenians? And today I was thinking of something. What does gan mean in Turkish? Gan?
Gun?
Gan. Doesn't it mean blood?
Oh, okay. Yeah, we pronounce it very different. Kan.
Kan. Yes.
Yeah.
Kan. Okay. Yeah, because I thought Khan because we have the Anatolian pronunciation.
Right. Yeah, no, totally. Yeah.
Grandparents. And I was thinking Erdogan, Gan. It has blood in it.
Yeah.
Yes.
By the way, I actually followed. So as you mentioned, Turkey took in about 4 million Syrian refugees, and I did spend 2 summers, 2015 and 2016, on the border, following a bunch of very young, Free Syria Army members. And it was so, and it was a film about exile. And it was so interesting because they were, again, going to your othering, they were just kind of good-looking university students in jeans with iPhones, but they had taken up Kalashnikovs and ended up in exile. So you just don't know who it's going to happen to. It could happen to us here.
Absolutely. That is the main point, that we need to raise awareness to the fact that nobody is exempt from what is going on. And look at what we are into nowadays with our administration, not to speak of what is happening. And who knows what we are in for the next 4 years or 3.5 or 3, whatever is left of it. Let it go fast. And so it's very, very important to tell these stories. And I thank you all for putting your trust in the festival and using this platform to speak to your audiences, because that is the main thing. You made these movies on a shoestring, or maybe some were funded, some were not funded, whatever it was the case, and to bring them to an audience. The most important point is when your audience and the film are in communion. And I'm very happy to say that most of you are going to be present at the festival, right? Are you coming, Matt? I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, Sophie and I will definitely be there. I wish Sophie was here today. She is of Armenian descent and grew up in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And we've done some projects with Carol Pelusian, who's an Armenian artist who lives in Queens and other things. And this would have been a great conversation for her. So I'm sure she will love to meet you.
Well, she can listen to
Mano.
it later.
Exactly.
And
So,
Mano is coming because he's
great.
already New York based. So is Aslihan, and Richard is coming. So I'm very happy to be able to meet you all in person. This is the first meeting. That's why I love these Meet the Filmmakers broadcasts, because I get a taste of who the people behind these films are. And when we meet in person, it's as though we are old-time acquaintances already. So let me take this opportunity and tell people about some wonderful ticket opportunities that we have. Unfortunately, we had $5, oh my God, early bird tickets that are already sold out. And we had a trio, which is $12. Oh my God, $4 a ticket. That's also sold out. But we have other kinds of tickets. We have the Trio Elite, which gets you to some of the important events like opening and closing night and so on. And there are now the individual film tickets that are on sale. So when you go to the festival website, which I am scrolling again, you will find all the details about all the films, including the trailers of these wonderful films. At one point, we were trying to play the trailer when the filmmaker was speaking about their film, and we gave up on that because invariably a glitch happens and then it doesn't work. So I figured, okay, let's just say manageable. Anyway, all these trailers are on the website and on our YouTube channel. You can watch them and you can come and see and meet the filmmakers in person. I have a comment. Let's see. Okay, we have Michael Clays, who is a board member with the festival, and he is also a team member, a very hardworking, and is in charge of the script writing competition. It says, looking forward to seeing your films and each of you at the festival. Thank you for sharing your time this morning. Thank you all. So it's open. We still have a lot of time. So whoever wants to jump in and talk about whatever you feel like talking about, whether it's something more you want to say about your film or the festival or whatever, it's your time.
Okay, I'll jump in. We're really thrilled to be in the festival. We've been looking for new outlets for the artist profile archive and the short films that we've been working on over the years. And this is the first festival that one of our films is going to be in. So we're really excited about it. I live in New York full time, and Sophie lives in New York part time. And it's just really an honor to not only be in the festival, but be part of the opening night festivities and have our film being shown there. Mary Kelly is just an incredible artist. I really urge everyone to Google her, check out her website, and see what she does. She's really been actively working, talking about feminist issues really since the 60s and 70s and through today. And her and her partner just have found an incredible way to bring stories of women around the world through their art. So I think it's a great project that we've been able to work on. I love being able to bring these stories to the public. Like I said, Sophie's done over 35 of these short films, and I've been privileged to work on about 25 of them as her editor or cinematographer or both. And it's just a real honor. And I just love being able to meet these artists, work with them, bring their art to the public. Some of them are well-known artists, but we have very intimate portraits of them. And that just really adds a a personal note to any artist that you get to know a little bit. And we really do shoot all these films in 1 or 2 days.
Wow.
So it's really, we do our research. We get to know the artists. We do in-depth interview with them in their studio or maybe in a gallery setting where they're having a show being done. And then work with their researchers to get material that we need for B-roll, or maybe travel ourselves to get some, go to a gallery that an exhibit is up and running. So it's been a great adventure for me, and I love working with this project. And I'm personally very excited to be part of the festival. Looking forward to meeting everybody.
Yeah,
and,
on opening night, your film is screening on opening night, but on opening night, it's all by invitation, and we have a very limited number of VIP tickets. That's why we told the filmmakers who have a group that is following them and will come to bring them to the second screening. The 3 films that are showing at the National Arts Club are also being offered a second screening because, that's the least we can do. If we're telling them you can't bring people, then at least we have to give them an opportunity where they can bring people. So yours is one of those, and it's screening at Cinema Village.
Correct.
On the 14th of on the 14th of March, on Friday at 1:30 p.m. in the group called Art and Empowering Women.
Yeah. And Sophie and I will definitely be there for both opening night and for the screening. So
yes, definitely. Because after the screening, all of these films are going to have a Q&A. And that is also an opportunity to meet the audience. And on opening night, all the filmmakers who are present will be invited to the podium so we can take a group photo together. I always say, by joking, we do it on the opening night because on closing night, some of them will not be smiling, but because we can't give awards to everyone. But it's okay, we always feel like just being selected means so much to us, because a lot of times our difficulty is not to decide which films to include, but how to draw the line and say, okay, unfortunately, there are some we won't be able to show on this round. So who wants to go on with some more information about their journey?
I'd like to just make a quick comment that's, I'm stumped with just the reality that we're all feeling. I did a portrait a little while ago of a renowned scientist, and he said that we are on the hinge of history, the hinge of human history. And by that he meant, think of all the 5, at least, existential realities that didn't exist 10 years ago. The emergence and the ceiling, the unknown ceiling of the emergence of artificial intelligence, climatic collapse, which causes vast amounts of people to move across borders, the escalation of all sorts of weaponry that we aren't even aware of, vast amounts of promise and peril in the computational medicine area, where we can redefine what it means to be human, the ultimate and unavoidable emergence and marriage of the human body with the machine, on and on and on. And of course, with all of this terrible uncertainty and indeterminacy, we have the worldwide emergence of totalitarian regimes that you've been talking about endlessly and clearly in this discussion. I'm not going anywhere with this other than saying I live with these thoughts every second, and I have no idea what it means for our children and what it means. I do know in the next 10 years will be completely, if there is a next 10 years, will be completely unrecognizable from our reality today, because we're in a period of exponential techno change that is accompanying with it chaotic and insane political change. You know, we often say, and I know I've even heard you, Nora, say, and I found that very hopeful. You said, oh, we have to somehow survive 3.5 years. Well, if we're very lucky, because these people aren't going away, and God knows where we're going. This is not a question. This is anything. This is me just ranting and wondering.
Yeah.
Comment.
Actually,
Because somewhere along the line, filmmaking intersects with this. You know, I'm not one of those
absolutely,
people
it
that think,
does.
yeah,
Like,
I'm one of these people that have any great belief in art changing the world, by the way.
yeah, we have to believe in it, because otherwise, if we don't believe that there is a meaning to what we do, whether it's creative or exhibition or trying to show or share or whatever, or me personally as
No,
an
you're right. I mean, it does certainly transform us on some deep internal level, and that's the best we can hope for, you know.
Totally, totally. And I keep forgetting when I'm into the festival that I'm first and foremost an actor. And I like the actor, everyone comes and knocks on the door. Me, please talk about me. And here I am. So anyway, so it's very, very important to make our voices heard, in one word. A lot of waves are going to be happening to try to shut our voices up and not get it heard, but it's the struggle. That should be our struggle.
Well, you're doing wonderful work, and I love your energy and clarity and focus, you know.
Thank
And your
you.
performance.
Thank you. Oh,
As
you know
Nolan
what?
Brando said, we're all acting every second.
Yeah. So yeah, it's I have to admit that this is not a one-woman show. I do one-woman shows. I have my stage presence on one-woman shows, but the festival is definitely not a one-woman show. I have an amazing team behind me or next to me or with me who believe in the idea of the festival and who support it 100%. We have meetings every Monday via Zoom since COVID, but we like that idea so that we don't have to waste time traveling. And we talk about what we are doing next, so on and so forth. We have two important guests. An opening night, we have a guest of honor who is Dorothy Wiggins, who at 99 years old, wow, sets an incredible example of standing by your thoughts, defending your ideas, and also being a mindful in a mindful lifestyle. So it would be a wonderful surprise for everyone when we meet her on opening night. And on closing night, our honor awardee is none other than Karen Karagulian, who plays Toros brilliantly in Anora, which
Wow.
I have to say that he should have been nominated for a supporting actor role, but unfortunately they chose one only person,
That
and
was fantastic.
he was amazing.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
that
oh
was
my
really
God.
great. That was
So,
awesome.
yeah, so he has generously agreed to be there and receive the award in person. Thank God he lives in New York. So yeah, so you see, New York is getting more votes here for over LA. So I have lived in Los Angeles myself for 10 years, and I keep referring to it as my 10-year sentence. So
Yeah, I was in prison in Silver Lake, and I used to go to.
you weren't very far. I was in Los Feliz.
Well, I used to drive up to the Armenian neighborhood in Glendale for food, but also I always go to the bookstore on Los Feliz because it had a slight Eastern vibe to it, East Coast vibe, you know, and I was
Yes. So usually I ask a third question, which is what new projects are you working on, and so on. And if anybody wants to share that, we still have time. So feel free to jump in.
Well,
Or if you want to talk more about the festival, how you came our way, or it's your time. So use it as you will.
I just want to say something to Richard just drew quite a dark picture of our reality.
And German American, that's what we do.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is, there is quite a lot of darkness, but I just want to say also, it gives me hope that there are filmmakers who are, instead of going a more commercial path, choose really sort of the path of making art and trying to make a change in this world in one way or another. And also people like you, Nora, and your team, who basically give away their time and energy to promote these filmmakers and bring these films to an audience. So to me, that's a very hopeful thing, and makes me happy. So
yeah, we like to focus on the positive and the hopeful. Otherwise, I keep saying, if people hear about the themes of these films that we are showing, they're going to say, oh no, what is it? It's terrible. And then even when they come, we put together the program, we make sure that there is at least a sliver of positive thing, at a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel or something. Because otherwise, if we watch all these films about terrible things, disability, aging, human trafficking, racism, LGBTQ rights that have been thrown to pieces, and everything that's going on in the world in a terrible way, we would come out of the cinema and want to shoot ourselves. It's like really terrible. But we always try to put an emphasis on, we can't offer solutions, because who are we to offer solutions? But at least we can shine the spotlight so that people might change their stands or opinions about certain things and want to do something about them. More, we have time. Who wants to?
Well, one reason, I mean, that you're doing such important work is that we're really living in the time of shrinking of audience expectations of what cinema is and what it's possible. So most of these festivals have narrowed and have their own commercial needs that have narrowed and even further narrowed audience expectation of what cinema can be. So I love what you're doing. I just, in terms of what I'm doing now, I adapted a play by the celebrated Swedish playwright Lars Noren called War, which is about the very thing that we talked about, the hinge of history, of endless war, endless refugees, and the war. It's really what happens in war, what really happens in families, the war against women. Women become, in any war, of course, products.
Wow, that is very interesting. Swedish, huh? Is
Lars Noren, and the play is called War.
Is it Swedish speaking?
Excuse me?
Is it speaking in Swedish or no?
It's going to be in English.
In English, of course. No, I'm asking that because, as a side note, I'm learning Swedish.
Oh, gosh.
For a film.
No, it's going to be in English. And, it's a very celebrated, he was I think the New York Times called him the Strindberg of contemporary Sweden. Wow. However, he was 75 and he died of AIDS 2 years ago, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
But we're trying to get that financed. So that's what we're trying to do. So.
Well, let us help each other and be there, or whatever it takes. Yeah. And who wants to tell us more about future projects? Aslihan?
Sure. I mean, okay. First of all, I just want to say, about what you've said in terms of leaving the cinema crying. I haven't seen the films of the other filmmakers in this group, but I can say for myself that even if I'm dealing with serious issues, I try to make an entertaining film. So I think, and I'm pretty sure that that's true of everybody else's film as well, be it through the visuals, be it through the beauty of the film, be it through humor. Even if we deal with serious issues, I think we still try to hold the attention of an audience and entertain. I mean, at least that's what I tried and hopefully succeeded.
Yeah, because first and foremost, this is entertainment. Otherwise,
exactly.
it becomes a lecture.
Exactly. It's not an op-ed, it's a film. My next, I have a bunch of things, but I guess the one that I'm really excited about is I'm going to play with genre. So I'm doing, actually, do you know in Anatolia, there's they found the oldest human sort of civilization from 10,000 BCE. So I'm sort of working on a script that takes place in this area, but it has sort of horror elements and philosophically deals with the, it hasn't, with the Anthropocene and the human disconnection from nature and themes of re-enchantment. So it's sort of an environmental theme, but having also to do with spirituality and re-enchantment of nature, etc. And hopefully entertaining because, like I said, it's going to have sort of horror/thriller elements.
Sounds interesting. Wow. Archaeology meets horror, meets politics, meets present. All right. I think we are 1 minute past our time, but I will give another extra minute to see if somebody wants to jump in with last minute amazing thoughts about the world and life and themselves or whatever they want to say.
I will just say that, like I said before, it's really an honor to be part of this festival. Sophie is cutting her first feature-length documentary, which is really exciting for her. She's producing and directing it. It's about Metro Pictures, which was an institution in New York City for many, many years and brought up many artists. And she's been shooting it for about 2.5 years. And right now she's in the cutting room. So that's why she can't be here with us today. But I'm very excited for her, and it's really a great project.
And she's with us in spirit and with the title of her film and her cinematographer and editor. Great. Thank you so much, all of you, for being such a wonderful team and group to interview. It's always a pleasure to talk to the filmmakers. And sometimes broadcasts are livelier than others, and sometimes it's like I'm trying to pull teeth or whatever, but this was not one of those cases. We had a great bunch, and thank you ever so much for trusting us with your films, with your babies. It's like, you have your little baby and you're giving it to us to care for the duration of a week and maybe a little more if you're screening online. So don't go away. I'm going to end the stream, but we will talk a little bit more.